Hello everyone and welcome to this new series of Did You Know JavaScript. Today we are going to talk about the primitive and non-primitive types of JavaScript. In this video we are going to talk about primitive and non-primitive types inside JavaScript. We will also talk about some of the new types like symbol and BigInt introduced in JavaScript. For a fact, variables in JavaScript do not have type. Values of JavaScript have type. In primitive types, we have different types like string, number, BigInt, which is a new one, boolean, undefined, null, symbol. Again, symbol is also a new one in ECMAScript 6. For non-primitive types, we have object, array, and function. Let's go ahead and look at the console of our browser to see about these types. I've opened my browser. I'll go ahead and say right click inspect. I'll go to console. I'll zoom in. So let's see the first primitive type, string. If I go ahead and type var name equal to Ankit, the type of name would be string. When you do type of name, it will return the type of value that is stored inside the variable name. Let's check the other type. Let's add age. Let's check the type of age. It returns us number. As you can see, the type of keyword returns the type of value that is stored inside the variable age. It is number. This is a string that is returned. So if I say type of age, so it will go ahead and check the type of return type of age. So this is string. Now let's check another type, that is boolean, where is working equal to true. Type of is working will be a return type of boolean. So it will check what is the value stored inside the variable. Now let us go ahead and check another special kind of primitive type, that is null or undefined. Now there is a subtle difference between null and undefined. Both of them represent an absence of value inside a variable. The subtle difference is we do not need to assign a value for undefined, and for null we need to explicitly mention null for a variable. So if I were to say where let's say a new variable company name, now the value that is stored inside the company name, if I go ahead and type it here, would be undefined, as you can see. And also the type of company name would be undefined because we have not stored any value inside company name, and we don't know what kind of value or what type of value is to be stored inside company name, since JavaScript is loosely typed language, and hence the type of company name variable would be undefined. But if I were to say where company name equal to null, this means that we have assigned a null value to company name. So if I go ahead and check company name, the output would be null. Both of them represent an absence of value, and both of them are different. So if I were to check null equal to undefined, this is loose equality, so they would come as same. But if I go ahead and check strict equality of both of them, they both would be unequal. The reason for this is type of undefined is undefined, whereas type of null is an object. And as you are aware that double equality does not check the type, it just checks the value, and both of them represent absence of values, whereas triple equal to checks the value as well as the type of null and undefined. So over here we have a different type for undefined, that is undefined, and the type of null is an object, and hence both of the variables have a different type, and hence it fails in the strict equality check. Now, despite null being type of an object, it is a primitive type. That is a special case in JavaScript. Also, null and undefined, unlike string, boolean or number, they do not have any properties. So even if I go ahead and check string dot, they have all these properties that we can apply it. So we can treat the string as an array, we can manipulate the string, we can loop through string, or we can do certain stuff with string. So these things cannot be done with null and undefined. So something like null dot value cannot be assigned to a null object, even though if it is an object type. Let's go ahead and check a new type inside ES6, that is BigInt. Now inside JavaScript, if you are storing a number, there is a maximum safe number that you can store so that JavaScript would not run out of memory. So the maximum safe number can be checked by using number object that is globally available and its property that is max safe number. So you can see this number, and if I wanted to check the length of this, so it's a 16-digit number that you can store maximum safely inside a variable, and the number maximum value of that number could be this. Now what if you want to work with the numbers that are greater than this? So for that, JavaScript has come up with a new type that is BigInt. So if I want to create a BigInt number, I can say my huge number equal to BigInt. And you can use this factory function, and let's say if I add another number, add a lot of numbers to it, I can go ahead and say that this is my huge number that is way bigger than this, and I have to end it with n. There's a significance of n. I'll tell you that in a different video, but just for reference purpose, you have to end a BigInt with n. So if I go ahead and check type of my huge number, it would be BigInt. Also, BigInt and number are different. So if you wish to add a number to a BigInt, you cannot do that. The reason being is, let's try it. My number. So if I try my number plus my huge number, it would say uncaught error, cannot mix BigInt and other types. So in this case, you will have to typecast a BigInt into a number, or probably number into BigInt. That would make more sense. So let's typecast this my number into BigInt, and it will give you an output of your new BigInt number. So that is BigInt inside JavaScript. Now comes my favorite part. This is a new feature introduced in ES6, and it is a new type available in ECMAScript as a primitive type. It is known as symbols. Using symbols, you can define private properties inside an object. Remember the days where you used to code in C++, where you mentioned private properties which can only be accessed by the functions? It is kind of like similar, not totally private, but it's a good way to define private properties inside an object. Let's go ahead and check symbols. Let's define an object where my details equal to. This is an object. Now you have name, you have full name, and you have company name. So all these three properties inside this object are currently public. If you wanted to see currently all the properties of this object, you will use object, that is the global object, and then get own property names, and you'll pass my details. So you'll see the list of all the three public properties available inside this object. Now if I wanted to define something that is private, so let's say my company tenure, or let's say my salary, so I can go ahead and do that using symbol var salary equal to symbol, and I'll go ahead and define symbol, which you can do it using square bracket, and you can say probably that's it, and you can say save the object. So as you can see, currently the symbol is listed over here and the value is also visible, but you don't know what's the property over here. You don't know that it's a salary. You don't know what this property refers to. Neither you can loop through this object and access this property. Now as you can see, my details, and if you try to list down all the properties, object dot get own property names, my details, it will not give you the salary. It will not give you the private property name over here. So if I have to access private property, I'll go ahead and access something like this. So that's how you can use symbols in JavaScript. The other types are quite obvious. The non-primitive types, that is object first, where my details already had been defined. So if I go ahead and check type of my details, it's an object. Let me define a few students inside an array, and let's check the type of array. The type of array is surprisingly not an array, it's an object. The reason for this is limited information inside JavaScript kept during the early days. So this is kind of like a language bug, which you can say, but this is a limited type of information available at that point of time, and it was not defined as an array. The reason why they are called as non-primitive types is they can store different kinds of variables within a single array. String as a first variable, number as a second variable, boolean, and an object, and null and undefined inside the same object. So this is why they are known as non-primitive types. We also have function. If I define function get my details, inside JavaScript, due to hosting concept, this line gets converted into something like this. This is the hosting process that happens, and it converts the function definition into a function expression. So this is how a function gets defined inside your JavaScript. And if I go ahead and check the type of get my details, it is a function. Again, function is a type of an object under the hood, and its prototype also extends from object. So that's pretty much it from primitive and non-primitive types. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.